The limelight for student athletes to perform at their best, both on the field of play and in the classroom, has never been higher than now, which makes it essentially important that athletes of all stripes do everything that they can to personally prioritize their mental health. And when we dive into the numbers, this, my friends, is what they reveal. According to the 2024 Psych News Alert article published by McLaren Hospital, it found that 84% of adult athletes who participate in sports say that it positively affects their mental health. Athletes, just like regular adults, can experience regular mental health challenges. In fact, they may be at increased risk for burnout and other mental health conditions. A 2019 study published by the hospital found that 35% of adult athletes have mental health concerns, including increased feelings of burnout, depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. However, 85% of adult and student athletes agree that their mental health should be also highly prioritized. That's good news for my friend Walker Ferguson. He's a student athlete currently playing safety for Wake Forest University, who is currently juggling the demands of a full-time football schedule as a safety for Wake Forest University, his academic commitments, and being an entrepreneur. He's the co-founder of Ascend, a meditation and wellness app that uses artificial intelligence. At the heart of it, Walker says that his journey combines leadership, innovation, and resilience as he continues to navigate challenges that he faces every day as a student athlete on the campus of Wake Forest. He's passionate about creating tools which empower personal growth and wellness, while also sharing his insights on the areas of teamwork, focus, and building something impactful from the ground up. And Ferguson joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Walker, if you are ready, my friend, I'll take a moment to wish you a good Monday and a Happy New Year, my friend. And I'm super excited to learn about your journey from a student athlete to wellness entrepreneur. Great to see you and happy Monday to you, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So, Walker, I wanted to start by asking you about your personal journey from a student athlete to your journey as a wellness entrepreneur, buddy. I'm wondering if you can tell me about that journey and what makes you so fabulous today, my friend.
Yeah, no, so mine starts back, obviously to like when I was born in Richmond, Virginia. I lived here in the same house my whole life, two sisters. Growing up, I played lacrosse and football. Lacrosse was my first love, but I ended up going to play football in college at Wake Forest. I got there in the summer of 2021, and I kind of got thrown into the deep end. I didn't like. I had it was kind of a surreal experience because you're coming from high school where like you're the top player and everything's kind of smooth sailing. You get to college and like you're the bottom of the totem pole. You get humbled really quick, and you also learn consistency, discipline, and a lot of different attributes from playing college football at the Power Five level. I got my butt kicked pretty early on. That kind of. But I met my partner Hampton, who's founded the wellness app with me, Ascend. And me and Hampton have formed this beautiful relationship. Both of our moms came from realtors. Both of our dads, came from farming families in the middle of nowhere. My dad's from the middle of nowhere in Virginia. His is in Georgia. And, we formed this beautiful relationship. And we always knew we were going to do something together. We didn't know what it was going to be. But, at night we would bounce ideas off each other. Like, should we do a brewery? Should we invent this, and nothing ever kind of hit. That kind of spiraled into sophomore year. And me and him both went through a pretty challenging time in life. I'd gotten out of a 4-year relationship. Grades weren't going great. I was still on scout team, wasn't traveling. Things on the home front weren't great. And the same I'm not going to tell Hampton's story, but a lot of similar things were happening for him. We kind of helped each other out together, but we were at our lowest low at the same time. And, meditation and mindfulness kind of brought us out of that. For me, it was meditating on scripture, taking a step back and just being like, wow, like, God's blessed me so much. I'm really like Wake Forest University right now playing football. Like, I got to take a step back and be grateful and just learning to live in the present moment. Because, I either lived in the past, which is depression, or the future is anxiety, but I was never really present and living my happiest, healthy life. So that being said, things kind of went on sophomore year. And long story short, Hampton ends up transferring to Georgetown. And while he's at Georgetown, we're obviously staying in touch, talking like once a week, continuing this like beautiful relationship. And he calls me in January of 24, start of the new year. He's like, "Walk, I got it. I know what we're gonna do." And I was like, "What's that?" He's like, "We're gonna create a wellness app using artificial intelligence the right way to give people personalized meditation, sleep stories, and plans." And I was like, "Great. So how do we do it?" So a little backtrack is, with football, we had a free subscription to Calm, and we had both been active users of Headspace, which are these apps that are unbelievable. And they give base meditations, base sleep stories, but nothing felt like tailored for me for what I was going through. So we were like, let's use AI and ChatGPT to give people, like I said, personalized meditation, sleep stories, and plans. So we went from there. We wrote it all out on a vision board, found some developers, and this summer we really grinded and were able to get a MVP out in September. Did our beta testing, and we've been on the App Store November 1st. So for the last 2 months, and we're steadily growing organically until we do our seed round of fundraising. But that's kind of how it conspired. It was from like a personal need and through like some hardships that I faced as well as my co-founder Hampton, and something that we were like, this is something we wish we had, a resource we wish we had to go through tough times. And that's kind of what inspired Ascend and creating this app for meditation and wellness using artificial intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Walker, let's dive into the app specifically, my friend. I know it's about meditation and providing stories for athletes and any other college students who may find it useful. But what specifically do you want people to know about the app, my friend?
Yeah, I think the main point of the app that I want everyone to know is that it meets you where you're at. That's the beautiful thing about artificial intelligence is it really is personalized individually for you. So whatever prompt you give it, that's what you'll get out of it. So for instance, if I was nervous about going on this podcast, I could say, I'm about to go on Kevin's podcast, super nervous. Please give me a meditation to calm down and de-stress myself. Within 5 seconds, it would create a meditation to help me mentally prepare, de-stress, as well as visualize my success like on the podcast. So what I'd say to people out there is no matter whether you want to achieve a goal, you want to de-stress, or you just want to live a happier, healthier, more mindful life, the app really can do it all and it will meet you where you're at. And, even as an athlete myself, a lot of my friends who are athletes, there's a feature within the app called meditation plans. And the meditation plans allow you to essentially put in a specific goal, and the more specific you make the goal, obviously the better your plan's going to be. But for instance, I could say, I want to become a starter on the Wake Forest football team by my senior year. I'm going to do X, X, and X to achieve that goal. Within 5 to 10 minutes, the app will actually create a meditation plan for you to visualize your success and see yourself achieving that goal. And a lot of my athletes that are friends have found that very helpful because we know everything starts in the mind. So to be able to see your performance in the head and translate onto the field is essential. So I would definitely say that most importantly, the app will meet you where you're at, whether that's, a goal achievement, stress, or living a happier, healthier life. And then if you're in the athletic realm or the high performance field, creating a meditation plan to allow you to visualize your success is essential for high performers to gain a mindful edge.
Yeah, absolutely. And Walker, tell me, I'm curious to ask you about the competitive mindset as a student athlete and how that has helped you to also kind of earn your stripes in life, my friend. So, how have you taken your competitive spirit as an athlete to succeed in other areas of your life, buddy? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, and that's another good question. Being an athlete, especially like at the highest level in college, you know, you're really taught that like someone's always trying to take your spot. Like someone's always trying to outwork you. Someone's always trying to gain an edge on you. And that hunger, that ambition, that drive, that stays with you long after sports. You can translate that to business, you can translate that to relationships, you can translate that to any facet of your life. Someone's always going to be trying to outwork you. So that's kind of the mindset is for me, it's two words. It's discipline and consistency. Discipline for me is showing up, doing the right things and, staying true to the process. What got me to where I was, staying disciplined, wake up at the same time every day, you know, eat the right meals, read, like stay consistent to my routine. And then consistency, obviously, I just kind of a little hit on that. That's the second major word. And consistency is huge because you can do something for, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months. But if you're not committed to that process and that long term growth, you're not going to get to where you want to be. So those two words definitely have formulated my mindset in the competitive landscape far beyond outside of sports, translated directly into business. People are always going to try to come up with new ideas. There's copycats trying to essentially like grow faster than you and take your business. So having that competitive edge and that mindset is essential. And the athletics does a really good job preparing you for the real world, that harsh transition. So for me, it's been a lot more smooth due to the athletics, which I'm super thankful for.
Yeah, absolutely. And Walker, how do you think wellness and meditation are interconnected? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so that's another good question. Wellness is really important. Your physical health, going to the gym, you know, lifting, so you're more present in every moment. But meditation directly ties with wellness because learning how to breathe, learning how to visualize your success, learning how to take a moment and just calm down, that allows you to directly affect your wellness positively to live a happier, healthier life. So I would encourage anybody that wants to meditate, to learn how to breathe, to learn how to de-stress, to learn how to visualize your success. There's so many different types of forms of meditation, but being able to learn to breathe and do these meditation practices, whatever they may be for you, will directly relate to positive wellness and health, and that's been proven by science. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And my friend, as you and I both know, less than 2% of athletes in college football make it to the NFL, buddy. So it's important to have sort of a backup plan after playing college football. And the average NFL career only lasts about 3.5 years, buddy. So tell me about the importance of setting up your future as a student athlete while you're still in college, buddy. What sort of a priority do you place on that, my friend?
No, I mean that's number one. That's the main priority. I've seen a lot of guys that were freak athletes and definitely had the potential to go to the NFL and have long careers. You tear an ACL, you have a couple injuries, and that dream's taken away from you. But you got to always remember what's important. You got to have that backup plan in case that doesn't work out. Obviously, for every college athlete, NFL or whatever pro sport that is, that's the goal. But being able to mitigate steps behind that is essential. For me, I always prioritize my education first. I majored in econ, minor in com, but I always made sure I showed up to class. I forced myself to study and get good grades because I knew that was going to take me to get a good internship to where I wanted to go. Even from a very early age, before I came back for football, I did an internship in the Outer Banks with Ross and Clark Twitty at a real estate vacation realty company called Twitty in Outer Banks, guest services. And then junior year, I did a commercial real estate internship out in Silicon Valley remote. And then, the summer after my junior year, I went to New York and worked for a knowledge on demand firm called Alpha Sites in New York City and got a lot of experience, learned from a lot of like-minded individuals that have been able to teach me how to run a business. And I formed really a lot of relationships, setting myself up in case the NFL didn't work out, in case I could no longer play football. So I would recommend every single person out there that's playing a college sport, that's in college, whatever facet of life you may be in, even in high school, like set yourself up for life after sports, because the harsh reality is it's going to end at some point. If you make the NFL, great. You might be there for, hopefully you have a 15, 16 NFL year career, but eventually that's going to end. And there's a life after football. There's a life after soccer. There's a life after baseball. So I would encourage everybody to maximize their resources while they're there and build long lasting relationships. Because at the end of the day, life's all about relationships and networking and who you know. So I would take advantage of all those opportunities for life after sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I also wanted to ask you about learning about financial literacy as an athlete, because it's important for athletes to know how to manage their money as we enter the NIL space and as they continue on to their professional careers. Would you agree with that?
100%. I think it's definitely smart to start saving money. At Wake Forest, shout out to Wendell Dunn. He works with the players, and he was a former Wake Forest player, played D-line, but he does an unbelievable job with these things he calls Top Hat Wednesdays. But Top Hats Wednesdays are mandatory for all football players. Essentially, he brings in a speaker in the team room, and they teach you, the tax code, how to save money, all these different facets, like eat a 5-course meal when you're going out with, a boss, right? Like, he brings in speakers to help teach football players at Wake Forest these life skills that are needed after football. And a lot of these guys, are ambitious, and they'll take time after and be like, I want to learn more about this. I want to learn, what if I save my money in this, right? This. With those workshops, I really hope that all colleges are doing that, because teaching athletes how to save money, especially as the numbers continue to rise in college, is going to only help them in the long term if football doesn't work out. It's a blessing now that athletes are now allowed to get paid, and learn how to save their money and set that up for long term growth is pretty important, in my opinion. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. No. Well, I also wanted to get your thoughts on a finding from the NCAA that reported that 55% of male athletes and 47% of women athletes believe that their athletic departments make mental health a top priority, buddy. So how do we continue to see those numbers rise and make sure that athletic departments make mental health just as important as physical performance? What are your thoughts there, buddy?
No, I mean, I think that's really important. Just to start off, I think Wake Forest does a great job. We have sports psychiatrists that will meet you where you're at. If you're struggling with something, you can go in and speak with them, and they'll kind of help you through that, whether that's, something at home, whether that's, a test or a relationship you got going on at school, or that's, performance. Maybe you're not performing at the level you think you should be, and your coach is, getting on you. They're there to meet you and help you, through those, tough times mentally. And, I'm so grateful for resources like that at Wake, and I think ways that we can continue to improve that is, hire more sports psych doctors. I think, most schools in the ACC had a premium subscription to Calm, which allowed them to get better sleep and better wellness. So, what I'd like to see in the future, and I want to talk to our idea about it as well, is implementing Ascend into sports teams. So when student athletes can't prioritize their mental health by going to a sports psychiatrist, they can just use the app and, de-stress or visualize their success and meet them, help them with their mental health where they're at. So that's a big avenue I see for Ascend. I just said essentially I would like to implement Ascend to, all collegiate athletic teams. I'd like to talk to our AD about doing that at Wake to start. And, the goal there is, when athletes can't meet with a sports psychiatrist about their mental health, something they're struggling with, they can use the app, because the app will meet them where they're at, whether that's visualizing success, de-stressing before a game, or, something's not going right in practice. On that resource, they'll be able to help them live a happier, healthier, more mindful life, and realize that, so that's what I said.
Yeah, absolutely. No, my friend, I'm curious to also ask you about your experience as a student athlete at Wake Forest. Specifically, buddy, how has that experience impacted your life, bud?
So you broke out one sec. What was the experience you asked about at Wake Forest?
Yeah, what's been your student athlete experience at Wake
Oh,
Forest like, bud, and how has
yeah.
it impacted your life?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was rocky at first, to be honest with you, but, I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I've met so many great people, like I said, life's all about relationships, and a lot of getting us send where we are, is through people at Wake, through networking. And I wouldn't have gotten that if I wasn't a student athlete, if I wasn't a football player. I met my brothers for life on that team. Those are guys who will be in my wedding. Probably all of them will be there. And, I wouldn't have changed it for the world. I learned so many life lessons about discipline, consistency, how to treat people. Our defensive coordinator told me last year, he said, the true definition of a man is how you treat someone that can do nothing for him. Like the mentorship from coaches on that team was unbelievable. And I've learned so many life lessons because football is a game of life. It's more than a game. It teaches you how to live, how to be a man. And, I'm so grateful for my experience. And if I could do it all over again, I would do it in a heartbeat. So super grateful.
Yeah, and Walker, I'm also curious to ask you about another finding from the NCAA that reported that last year they reported that 30% of student athletes struggle with their mental health, and they're afraid to ask for help in that regard, my friend. And I'm a firm believer in the power of vulnerability and the strength of vulnerability. So how do you think we can better support student athletes going forward? And how do you look at the importance of vulnerability from an emotional standpoint from a student athlete so that they can get the help that they need to get through things? What are your thoughts there, buddy?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think there are a lot of resources out there to help student athletes already. I think they can only continue, whether that's, more sports psychiatrists, whether that's through group sessions, whether that's through Ascend subscriptions. You know, I think the most important thing is for athletes that are dealing with, these mental blocks and these, uncertainties, and all the mental health. I think I know the most important thing is going to come down to courage. Is once one person, you're never alone. First off, and like people are there to help. They want to help. They want to help you live a happier, healthier life. But if it's not you, why not someone else? I think it all comes back to courage. If say I had say I was a big time athlete, right? I'm starting quarterback at like Alabama or something. I'm going through some serious things in my head and I'm really struggling. Me saying like, it's fine to go see a sports psychiatrist. Like I need that. Like I'm vulnerable. Like it's okay. Like most people are followers. They like trends. So courage, realizing that there's not a bad stigma around going in and receiving help. And, if the top athletes that are struggling can do that and make that public, then other athletes will follow and they'll realize that, it's really okay. And there's no reason to hide or suppress my feelings. So I think it really all comes back to courage.
Yeah, and Walker, I'm also curious to ask you about how important do you think it is for athletes to develop interest outside of sports so that they can live a more balanced life? What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on that regard, my friend?
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. I think that, you got to find something you love outside of sports for when you're out of practice. You can flip the switch and you can do what you love and take your mind away from, what's going on. Because as you know, especially at, in the ACC or, SEC or whatever, that like every big conference, it's taking up all your time. Like you're putting in 40 plus hours weeks, whether that's lifting, practice on top of school. And there's not much time, for you to just be, So I would definitely encourage somebody to find something they love. For me, I like to fish. So anytime I get a chance, I'll go to a pond and I'll cast out a line. And that's a time that I can just sit in silence and just look at the beauty of like God's creation, adoration of like all the nature. And that's kind of like a mental reset for me. So whether that's, reading, playing the guitar, like find something you love to do, find a great hobby, whether that's hiking. There's so many great hobbies out there. But what that is, do that outside of your sport, fall in love with that, find other interests, start a business, do something that's going to take your mind away from the game when you're not there. And, that will only help you as an athlete, even strengthen your emotional intelligence, emotional resilience. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's your best piece of advice or roadmap for any student athlete who wants to go in to entrepreneurship, buddy? What are some of the secret sauces to success in entrepreneurship as a student athlete, in your opinion, buddy?
Yeah. No, I would say, I think the main piece of advice that I'd give would be, believe in yourself. There's a huge stigma that's, as soon as you get out of college, you got to get a 9 to 5 job. You gotta stay in like the system. You work for a degree and then you work right away. But if you have that mindset, if you're hungry, so for me, like taking it a little back, like I like working towards a goal. Like I like to achieve something, and entrepreneurship is really that route for me because I can continue to grow and to excel and to branch out. And a lot of athletes are like that. They're always striving for the next goal, and a lot of people find that after college athletics, you've been reaching for this goal the whole time. That's the NFL or that's the MLB. You reach for college sports, you get to college, and then that might not work out for the NFL. And it's like, what do I do now? And then you get to a job and it's complacent because you're doing the same thing over and over again. And you miss that hunger, you miss that drive to reach for something. So I would encourage anybody that has hunger, has drive, wants to keep running towards a goal, and like is just hungry and like not satisfied, is so ambitious, and they get that. And if you still have that from sports, I would encourage you to take the risk. Start a company, go the entrepreneurship route, and bet on yourself because with athletes and the mindset, you can't lose. So that would be my piece of advice: is take the risk.
Absolutely. And, Walker, I'm also wondering your thoughts on your definition of competitive tenacity and what does that mean to you, my friend?
Yeah, being competitive for me, is just outworking the opponent. It's showing, like I said, discipline, consistency, like showing up every day, falling in love with the process, staying consistent, doing it over and over again. You're not going out and drinking with your friends. You're not, watching TV. You're like finding other ways to gain a competitive edge over someone else. And, that applies to every facet of life. So my definition of competitive tenacity is just outworking the opponent, just staying always, never being satisfied in the mind. In your mind, a lot of times you want to be like, oh, I'm slowing down, like I'm good, I'm in a good spot. Like never be satisfied, always be hungry, and keep working to beat the competition.
Yeah, and Walker, you brought up the process of forming relationships a couple of times in our conversation this morning. So I'm curious to ask you about what do you think is the key to forming relationships in life and in business? Because, for me, my friend, I think it's the heartbeat of any business or any endeavor you want to do in life, whether it's business related or not. Forming relationships is the key to success. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Life's all about relationships. There's a book written by Stephen Convey, and it's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And, one of those habits is synergy. It's how do I work with others to not only excel them, but excel myself as well. When you work in harmony and you create synergies, both people are allowed to grow. Both people can strive and succeed. So I'd encourage anybody out there, meet as many people as you possibly can, keep a networking spreadsheet, follow up with them, wish them a happy birthday, find ways that you can mutually benefit each other. And even if they can't benefit you, just help them out because it always comes back. So find ways to synergize, find ways to grow. And life's all about relationships. Like what we're doing right now is a synergy. So I'm super grateful for that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you think is the key to forming consistent and productive relationships? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, no, I think it's, never be afraid to have a conversation. You don't have a conversation, it's a no right away. So you might as well have the courage to get on the phone. I think another really important one is to talk straight. You know, tell them your intention, let them tell you yours. Don't fluff anything, and just be straight up. People really respect and honor that. And I would encourage everyone to use their resources. LinkedIn's a great tool to reach out to people. Social media, how we met on Podmatch. There's so many great ways to reach out to people to synergize. And following up is huge. Don't just try to get something out of somebody. Formulate a relationship with them, and see where it goes. So, yeah, those would be my tips of advice: is just talk straight, be genuine, and follow up with people. Show a genuine interest in others. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Absolutely. And, Walker, as I don't have to tell you, as a student athlete, adversity will strike, my friend. And I'm curious to ask you about what are your non-negotiables for you personally once adversity strikes to sort of get through the storm, my friend? How do you make the personal promise to yourself to get through adversity, buddy?
Yeah, no, that's a good question too. I mean, for me, it falls back on my faith. I'm a Christian guy, so my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, like He's my foundation. And there's a good illustration I have, where I think it's good, but essentially, like a bridge, right? Like you're in the ocean, like these pillars that are cemented deep in the ocean, right? Tsunami comes, storm comes, it smacks these pillars, but these pillars don't move. Houses around me fall down, buildings fall down, umbrellas fly, things get destroyed, but the pillars never move. That's my firm foundation. When I have anxieties, when I have worries, I pray, I go back to scripture, and I find peace in God. So that's kind of like, for me, that's what gets me through it, is my faith.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Walker, as we both know, football is the ultimate team sport, my friend. And I'm sure that you've been exposed to leaders that are good at leaders who aren't, my friend. So I'm interested to ask you about your definition of effective leadership, and what do you think makes a great leader, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like a cliche these days, but it's servant leadership. No one else above yourself. I think I mentioned it earlier, but our defensive coordinator Brad Lambert said, the true definition of a man is how you treat someone that can do nothing for him. And those are the best types of leaders. We've had a lot of leaders like that at Wake Forest that were captains early on and even towards the end, and they consistently put the team above themselves. And when you can do that, you're leading effectively, because then everyone else buys in around you. You've developed this amazing culture, and culture is everything, whether that's in the workplace and sports. If you have a great culture and you have people that believe in the shared vision, and you have the top people that are going to put the others above themselves, I mean, you can't lose. So a big component of servant leadership.
Absolutely. And just out of curiosity, buddy, what's the best part about Wake Forest's culture as a football program, my friend? Why did you like attending the school, buddy?
Yeah, no, I think I just kind of hit it on the nail. I think the best part about the Wake Forest football culture is, it's a lot of unselfish guys that love football. Everyone puts themselves. We all have beautiful relationships. There's never any fighting going on, any bickering. Everyone truly loves one another. Everyone serves the other person, puts themselves above their own. We're all hanging out on the weekends. We're all going out to get food. On the weekdays, we're formulating these great relationships, and I think that's the difference. That's where Wake Forest football culture is different in those days. Our coach just ended up retiring, but those 11 years he was there, he really did do a good job building a culture of guys that love football and love each other. And when you put those two things together, you win games. And we found that in my experience early on, that ACC, Atlantic champs, Gator Bowl champs, tactical Gator Bowl champs, you win games. So the culture at Wake's great, and I've learned a lot about how to treat others, how to put others above myself, and a lot about humility from the best players on our team. And that culture, I hope I can instill that with Ascend, with our team, because when you have a culture like that, when times are tough and you're still resilient because of the love you have with one another, I mean, you can't lose. So super grateful for Wake Forest football.
Yeah, absolutely. And my friend, I've got a couple questions left, and the first one of those questions is all about, the power of self-reflection. I know I asked you about your non-negotiables earlier, but I'm a huge believer in self-reflection, and really manifesting success, my friend. So when you look at the concept of self-reflection and prosperity, how are you defining prosperity for yourself as we enter 2025?
Yeah, when you look at reflection, I think it's important to look back on where you come. I like to think back to my high school years, and all I ever wanted to do was play college sports. I wanted to start a business. I wanted to like formulate a beautiful relationship with my beautiful girlfriend. Like all of the things that I thought about constantly, I worked towards. I've achieved so far, and I think it's really important to reflect on where you've been. So many times, people want the immediate satisfaction. They're like, "Why didn't I get this? Why didn't I get that?" But being able to take a step back and be like, "My younger self would be so proud of where I am now," is setting you up for future success. So whether that's journaling, whether that's meditation, you can create a meditation plan in the app Ascend to reflect, but, whether that's just talking to people, having a gratitude journal, there's so many ways to reflect on your life and where you've been and where you want to go. So to answer your question, what does prosperity mean? Prosperity for me in 2025 means, falling in love with the process, being grateful for what I've been through, all of my many blessings, and allowing more to flow into my life and working hard to achieve my goals. I'm a huge process guy. So yeah, that's prosperity for me. It's never, for even at Ascend, it was never about creating $1 billion company. It's helping 1 billion people live happier, healthier lives. So if I can do that and I can make people's lives a little bit better, that's prosperity for me. Because in here, I'm alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I ask you my last question, you inspired me to ask this one. Walker, as a student athlete, I don't have to tell you that it's important to create an inner circle of people that you can rely on when things are good and when they're bad, my friend. So tell me about the process of creating an inner circle of people that you can rely on, buddy, and how important is that to you?
Yeah, I think I definitely got pretty lucky because, when you are on the same team with like-minded individuals, that kind of formulates a group in its own because, you're like-minded, you share the same values and the same vision. As I've branched with people outside of my team, I think it's really important to make sure that people are on the same mission you're on, have the same values, share similar interests. And obviously people aren't the same. People have different interests or values, but making sure people are like-minded on the same wavelength as you. They're ambitious, they're hungry, they want to achieve the goal. Having people around you will bring you up. There was a study that I saw and said, high achieving people bring low achievers up by 15%, by 15%. But low achieving people around high achievers bring them down by 30%. So I think it's really important when navigating your circle to find like-minded individuals that share the same values, that are ambitious and have a vision you can mutually benefit yourself, and you can also bring each other out of tough times when things aren't going great, when the vision and the values are there.
Yeah, and Walker, if, my final question is this, buddy. And if I made your life into a movie and I said the premise of the movie was how you would want your legacy to be defined, my friend, what do you think is going to be the plot of the movie, my friend? And why do you feel that way? What are your thoughts there, my friend?
Yeah, I think the plot of the movie would be, you go through tough times in life, you go through trials and tribulations, and the Lord puts you through those things to come out on top to achieve the final destination, final goal. And the plot of the movie for me would be serving others, helping other people live happier, healthier lives, to develop a relationship with the Lord, and you know, just be more present and mindful to bridge to bridge this gap between this misconception of meditation and allow more people to meditate, affect. So in sum, the plot of the movie would be adversity doesn't lead to failure. Adversity leads to triumph through helping people live the greatest lives they possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. And my friend, who would get the starring role? Who gets to play you, buddy?
Oh man, who gets to play me? I mean, Matthew McConaughey would be pretty cool. I always liked him, so I'd let him do it.
Yeah, well, you got some similarities to him. Absolutely, my friend. And finally, Walker, tell me if people want to get connected with you, buddy. What's the best way they can get connected with Ascend or you personally, my friend?
Yeah, for Ascend, I'd love for anybody to just download us on the App Store. You can search up Ascend Meditations, give us a download. If you want to follow us on any social media, it's ascendapp.ai. And then please feel free to email me. My email is walkerferguson@ascendmeditations.app, or give me a call at 804-201-5075. Appreciate everybody.
Absolutely, my friend. And as an old sports reporter, my friend, I was looking forward to this one, and I have to send a personal thank you out to you, buddy, because we're on a bit of a podcasting mission as we march towards 1,000 episodes this week, buddy. So I wanted to thank you for your contributions to meditation, mental health, and wellness, and to the personal mission that I have to reach 1,000 episodes this week, my friend. It's most appreciated.
Awesome. Thank you. And I hope you achieve that goal.